We're going to answer that question in this video. And these are what Facebook ads look like. This particular example is one to get page likes. And you can see you've got the logo, the name of the business, a nice headline that spells out what the ad's all about, an attention-grabbing picture, some details about the business, and you can click to like the page. This is what it looks like on the desktop news feed. Then this is what it looks like on the mobile news feed. Very similar, but you can see obviously it's taking into account the fact that it's a much smaller footprint. Let's move this along here. And then in the right column on Facebook, you're going to have a smaller one as well, like this. And there are all sorts of different types of ad that you can get depending on what your ad objective is. You can see them all listed here. So how do Facebook ads work? Well, the basic principles behind Facebook advertising are PPC and PPM. If you're familiar with internet marketing, you will have heard the terms before. But if you've mostly handled your advertising offline until now, you may not have. PPM means you pay per impression, or to be more specific, you pay per 1,000 impressions, hence the M. And your ad will show on Facebook and you'll pay regardless of whether anyone clicks on your ad or not. And this is perfect if you're trying to get exposure for your brand and you aren't worried about making any direct sales. PPC stands for pay-per-click. And as I suspect that this is what most people watching this video are going to be more interested in, this is what I'm going to concentrate on for the remainder of the video. Now, as an advertiser, when you're buying a pay-per-click ad, you only pay when somebody actually clicks on one of your ads. And this means that you'll never need to pay for an ad that's unsuccessful. So if no one clicks on your ads, you don't pay a penny, and you'll still have gained exposure for your brand from it. Now, the price that you're going to pay for each click depends on a number of different factors. It depends on the niche that you're in, the keyword that you're targeting, and how many other marketers are targeting that niche or keyword. Now, pros and cons to both, of course. The bigger the niche and the more popular the keyword, then the higher the cost per click, otherwise known as CPC. But the more likely you're going to be able to reach a large audience. The converse is also true. The less popular the niche and keyword, the lower the CPC. But chances are that fewer people will see your ad, let alone click on it. Like most of us, Facebook are in business to make money, so the more you're prepared to pay per click, the more often your ads will get shown. Likewise, the higher your budget for any given day, the longer your ads will be repeated, and this process is known as bidding. And Facebook are very flexible about this. Although it's called bidding, it's not like an auction. It's not a case of the person who bids the most gets shown exclusively and everybody else can get lost. It just means that the highest bidding ad will be shown the most often. You can bid lower and your ad will still get shown for that keyword, but just not that much. And this is good because it means you can test out an ad without spending a lot of money per click. If it's effective, it'll get clicked on regardless of how often it gets shown. You can then scale up, pay more and get more clicks. If the ads are dud, well, it doesn't matter. It won't have cost you much, if anything. Now, of course, the holy grail of PPC is to find keywords that get searched for often but don't have a lot of other marketers bidding on them. You then write an ad that targets potential buyers while discouraging people who are merely curious and are not likely to take you up on your offer. Master that skill, and it's literally like having your cash flow on tap. To create an advertisement on Facebook, it's very simple. You come here to facebook.com/business, click here where it says create an advert, and then just simply follow the on-screen instructions. It's very simple. So what's the difference between advertising via Facebook ads and advertising via Google AdWords? Well, there are certain similarities. First of all, both Facebook ads and Google AdWords are pay-per-click or PPC. At least Facebook does have a PPC option. And both allow you to set a cost per click, otherwise known as a CPC, and a budget. Both will show ads which pay the highest most often. Both allow you some degree of targeting, and both have different ad types which enables you to match the ad to the target audience. But that's about where the similarity ends. So let's take a look at some of the key differences between advertising on Google AdWords and advertising on Facebook ads. Now, when someone does a search on Google, AdWords ads are shown in the SERPs, that's the search engine results pages, and they're generally shown down the right-hand column and sometimes across the top of the results. And you can see they usually say ads or sponsored results. And you can also show an ad on somebody else's website via Google's AdSense program, meaning you can reach a very wide audience with Google AdWords. AdWords are also the best known and most respected form of pay-per-click advertising, but they're also the most highly competitive. Facebook ads, by comparison, are seen only on Facebook and Instagram now that Facebook has acquired it. So it's not so wide an audience, so it's not as expensive. Well, most of the time anyway. But the thing about Facebook ads and where Facebook ads really score over Google AdWords is they offer more precise targeting, especially when you're advertising on Facebook itself. Now, let me give you an example of how this works. Let's say, for example, you have a store selling wedding dresses. You can set it up so that only women who list their status as being engaged and live within a certain distance of your bricks and mortar store are going to see that ad. Nobody else will. Other women who live within that certain radius but are single or married already and therefore aren't going to be interested in a wedding dress, they're not going to see your ad. Likewise, women who are engaged but live further away than the distance that you've set, and therefore it's too far for them to go and pay a visit to your wedding dress shop, they're not going to see the ad either. So you can really drill down and only make sure that your target audience actually sees that ad. Likewise, if you run a site on giving dating tips for guys, you can make sure that only men who list themselves as single see your ad. Men who list themselves as being married or in a relationship, they're not going to see your ad at all. So they're not going to be interested in buying your ebook or signing up to your membership site for dating tips. So there's not a lot of point in showing them that ad. And this is where Facebook advertising really scores, is because you can really zero in on a very, very specific type of person. Your ideal customer, you can decide what he or she is, and then you can make sure that only those people who fit the very narrow criteria see your ad, and therefore they're more likely to buy your product or service, and you're more likely to make a successful sale. That's the sort of thing I mean. The biggest difference, though, is that when people do a search on Google and see an AdWords ad, they are actively looking for something. You go to Google, you type in your search term, and you're looking to find something, and you see the result, and you see the AdWords ad. Now, people come to Facebook to connect with friends and not specifically to buy products or services. You must therefore use your Facebook ad to create a demand, not just satisfy it. And that's the biggest difference. So you really need a different type of advertising strategy when you're advertising on Facebook compared to advertising on Google AdWords.